Good afternoon. Welcome to this special edition of the RCB Radio Sports Show, live at 92.5 and 94.8 FM and online at www.rcb.ie. If you're from County Clare there this evening, we have a special interest from you. It's a basketball interest. And if you're wondering, is it to do with the Limerick Celtics below the Irish National League or the Galway Titans, it's a bit further ashore. It comes from all the way of the NBA. Last year, during the NBA season, we spoke to Denver Nuggets head coach Michael Malone during a post-match press conference, and he revealed to us about his relations and backgrounds in County Clare and in relation to his Irish heritage. And we said we'd be delighted to explore that possibility in the future if the possibility came around. And Michael has delightfully agreed to speak to us this evening about that. So, Michael, when I spoke to you on the post-match press conference, little did I know, I think it was around St. Patrick's weekend, that you would come out and you would talk about your Irish background and your Irish heritage in County Clare. And is it something you're very proud of, and is it something that you've known since you were a little boy?
Oh, definitely. Well, first off, Jim, it's great to be on with you. I'm glad that we were able to follow up our in-season connection with this off-season interview, and it's great to be on with you, and a big fan of yours. But yes, I take tremendous amount of pride in my family heritage, being a 100% Irish American, if you will. You know, I'm a Malone, I'm a Killearn, I'm a Degnan, I'm a Murphy. So I'm extremely proud of my roots, my ancestry, and I've always taken a keen interest in trying to understand where my family came from, you know, going all the way back to my great-grandfather, Michael Malone, from Kilmihil in County Clare, and trying to track, you know, all the way through my grandparents and, you know, when they came over from Ireland out of County Cork to come over to America. So I'm one of 6 kids. I was born in New York City, your typical Irish Catholic New York City family, big family. I've been back to Ireland twice. And I love going back there. And as you mentioned, coming into this, it's something I love to get back to. And if getting back to County Clare, doing some basketball clinics, whatever it may be, that's something that I would love to be a part of in the future.
And you mentioned there Kilmihil in County Clare in terms of your grandfather, Michael Malone, and that's sort of a West Clare sort of roots. And basketball is sort of big in terms of North Clare, in terms of there used to be a Clare County team called the Clare Jets in Estymon, just further north from that. And a good lot of West Clare basketball players used to play back in the 50s and 40s in places like Kilkee, further west. So do you think maybe that in terms of your basketball interest, that in terms of your heritage, I know you don't know, but there was something maybe there in your family cycle, maybe going back generations, that maybe got introduced that basketball maybe followed on in terms of generations?
Well, I hope so. You know, I hope that some of my my ancestors, and it was my great-grandfather Michael Malone, as I mentioned. It was my grandfather Brendan Malone, his brother Kevin. And it's funny, when we stopped, I was went over to Ireland my last time with my mother Maureen Malone and one of my brothers Kevin. And we did the whole thing. We went from Dublin down to Kildare, the Ring of Kerry, the Dingle Peninsula, all the way up into County Clare. And we stopped in Kilmihil and, went to one of the cemeteries there and found the gravestones of some of our relatives. But I'm not sure if they were basketball players or coaches. I know in talking to my father and some of my other relatives that my grandfather was a really good runner, a lot of great distance runners coming out of Ireland, obviously. So I'm not really sure where the basketball started. My father, Brendan Malone, was a high school coach in New York City at the very well-known Power Memorial Academy, right near Hell's Kitchen on the west side of Manhattan. So I grew up in a gym myself, from New York City all the way through today, Jim, as I'm a head coach in Denver. And I can't believe I'm about to enter my 7th year as the head coach of the Denver Nuggets. So But basketball is definitely in my blood. And so maybe to your point, it came all the way from County Clare many years ago.
And you mentioned growing up in New York, knowing about your sort of family heritage and your background. And in terms of your family, or did it sort of keep the Irish traditions in your family, maybe like Irish music, Irish dancing? Were you aware of maybe growing up of the Irish national sports in terms of hurling and Gaelic football? Had you ever heard the Dame or the two national sports about Ireland, or were you aware of, did you take a fascination in terms of the Irish sort of country when you heard about that you had Irish blood in you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I heard about the Irish sports, the Gaelic Association of Sports, all those things. My grandfather, Brendan Malone, would always go and pick up the Irish Echo, the newspaper in New York City, and he'd sit in his chair and read that. But whether it was the Irish music, I can remember my grandmother making, your typical Irish meals and Irish soda bread and just everything. I still do, and I did when I was a young boy, took a lot of pride in being Michael Malone, 100% Irish heritage. That meant a lot to me. And that's why I've taken it upon myself to try to learn as much as I could about my ancestry and my family tree and where we come from. And obviously the Malone side is from County Clare. My grandmother was Kate Degnan. I think she was from Roscommon. And then I think my mother's side, the Colorans, are from Sligo in that area. So the roots run deep. I think it's important for you to know where you come from in order for you to know where you're going. And that's something that, and not everybody in my family shared that same passion. That was just something. I've always been a history buff, and I figured what more important history than my own personal family history. But growing up with my grandparents, with my uncles and aunts and father and all of his friends, it was definitely influenced by being Irish and having a lot of ancestors that came from Ireland.
And we see an awful lot of foreign players from Europe in the NBA now, and from countries like Slovenia and Serbia and Croatia, and an awful lot of Irish youngsters now, they get scholarships to American colleges, and we know how elite sort of American colleges is. With the NBA over the last 10 years becoming a more global game, do you think it's only a matter of a time before we're going to see maybe some of those Irish youngsters progress from American colleges into maybe the WNBA or the NBA itself?
Yeah, I would hope so. I think in order for that to happen, though, you really need to have very strong youth programs. You mentioned Slovenia and Serbia. Obviously, we have Nikola Jokic, the reigning MVP in the NBA, who's from Sombor, Serbia. You have Luka Doncic from Slovenia, an MVP candidate every season. And both those countries, they are basketball crazy countries. They love the game of basketball, and from an early age, they have leagues and foundations and teaching of the game, so it becomes a part of them. I think in order for Ireland to take a big jump, obviously, I think it has to start when these boys and girls are very young and they get taught the game and the fundamentals of the game. And then hopefully it becomes a passion of theirs. Because right now, I guess I would ask you, Jim, if you cover sports in Ireland, where does basketball rank in terms of the most common and popular sports in Ireland? I can't imagine it's any higher. Maybe it's in the top 5, but it's not at the top. And I think it's really important for the young kids, boys and girls, as I mentioned, to be taught the game early, to have leagues, to have access to gyms and good coaching in order for that to take place. And hopefully it does. I was around a young man named Pat Burke, who was, I think, the first Irish-born player ever to play in the NBA. I think he played college basketball at Auburn, and I'm hoping that many more Irish-born boys, girls, men, women will play professional basketball here in the United States. That would be great to see.
And Michael, in terms of the NBA global game, the NBA sort of Europe game, it has come to London in the past. It has come to France as well. There's Basketball Ireland is a growing brand. We know there is a massive fan base in Ireland for American sport. The two most popular American sports in Ireland, without question, are the NBA and the NFL. And I suppose, do you think it's an avenue? Maybe I spoke to Chris Paul about this in the past, that maybe the NBA could look at maybe having an NBA game in Ireland, maybe the global sort of game, maybe in Dublin. It has done it in London. It's been very successful. Maybe the capital, maybe Dublin, maybe an outdoor sort of a game, maybe in a big massive venue like Croke Park that can hold 60 or 70 or 80,000. Do you think maybe that's a possibility? And if that was offered to the NBA teams, would you and the Denver Nuggets be putting your hand up in terms of playing an off-season game like that in Ireland? Would that be something that would warm your heart?
I'm going to put two hands up. Sign me up. If that option was ever presented to our team here in Denver, I would love to take advantage of that opportunity. I think everyone that's ever visited Ireland has come away just blown away because of the beauty of the country, how genuine the people are, how kind the people are. And that's a great point. We played in London one year, I think probably 3 or 4 years ago. And if you're going to go all the way to London, well, why wouldn't we go right to a Dublin as well? I think it makes total sense. And I know that the NBA, Commissioner Silver, are always trying to do whatever they can to make the NBA a global brand. And we have great fan support throughout Ireland. So it'd be great to go there and bring the NBA right to all of our fans in Ireland. So I'll definitely do whatever I can to help with that, Jim. And if they were going to make that decision to travel there, I would really hope that the Denver Nuggets, with Michael Malone as their head coach, would be a big part of that. That'd be very, very exciting for all of us.
And I suppose, Michael, last time I spoke to you, you mentioned about the possibility of summer camps in Ireland and maybe linking up with the authority of basketball in Ireland, Basketball Ireland, and maybe doing some sort of a clinic, maybe a week clinic or a weekend or a 2-week sort of clinic. And if that was a possibility for the Denver Nuggets, would it be something that you would be coming there maybe with sort of first team players, the likes of your Jokic and Jamal Murray's and players of that caliber, which young kids could see themselves and sort of aspire to, and be sort of to see the actual NBA stars themselves in person? Or is it a camp where it be sort of coaches based? Because I suppose young basketball players, they get inspired by people that they see actually playing in the leagues themselves.
Well, obviously it would be the best case scenario, Jim, would be for us to bring a few of our players. As much as they'd like to see me, I'm sure they'd like to see Nikola Jokic or a Jamal Murray a lot more, understandably so. But I think the most important thing is, if we were able to pull something like this off, is going over there and getting to the different counties and the different cities to teach the game and to help these young boys and girls, but also to help some of the local coaches, and these are some of the things that we're doing, that we're teaching from a fundamental standpoint. Yes, we're the NBA, we're the highest league in the world, but as a coach, you're a teacher, and we're still teaching the game. Our players are coming into the league younger and younger, so you have to teach them some of the things that are most basic and most fundamental. And that's what I think we could allow and afford those young boys and girls in Ireland, is that same thing. So if we're able to do something like this in the future, which I really hope we can, it'd be great to have a few of our players. But as you know, this would be something that we would do in the off season, and NBA players during the off season are very, very sensitive about their time constraints. But we have a great group of players, and it'd be great to show a guy like Nikola Jokic or Jamal Murray, who have never been to Ireland, what Ireland is all about, while also having some time to teach basketball and enjoy the country as well.
Yeah, Michael, it's been fascinating talking to you there this evening. And we can clearly see your passion for the country and your passion for basketball. And even, I suppose, it's going to put the West Clare town of Kilmihil on the map there tomorrow, and probably on the national papers here in Ireland in terms of the connection to the Denver Nuggets. And I'm sure an awful lot of the local people around in Kilmihil are going to be sort of campaigning for the return of Michael Malone back to the village himself. So, Michael, an absolute pleasure talking to you this evening, and we'll obviously hope to speak to you again sometime in the near future. Take care, Michael Malone.
Hey, Jim, thank you so much. I appreciate being on with you, and let's make sure we do this again. I enjoy this relationship. I enjoy getting to know you. And as you mentioned, I do have a tremendous amount of pride and passion for where I come from. You know, yes, I was born in Astoria, Queens, but I know my family roots go all the way back to Ireland. And I look forward to coming back, and I look forward to continuing this relationship. So thank you so much.
Cheers, Michael. Take care.
All right. Thank you, Jim.